Out on the Kansas Prairie, in the early 1870s, the land seemed endless. Tall grass moved with the wind. Wagon trails cut through open country. Small homesteads sat miles apart, isolated, quiet, and often far from help. To most families heading west, it looked like opportunity. To others, it was the perfect place to disappear. Before there was House of 1,000 Corpses, before there was The Devil's Rejects, and before Laura Ingalls Wilder gave America Little House on the Prairie, there was the Bloody Benders. A real family, a roadside inn, travelers vanishing on the trail, bodies buried in an orchard behind a small cabin in Kansas. The Bloody Benders are often called America's first serial killer family. And along the Great Osage Trail, they may have been exactly that. Between 1871 and 1873, people traveling through Labette County, Kansas, began disappearing. This was frontier country. Men vanished all the time. Some were robbed, some were killed. Some were simply never heard from again. The West was dangerous, and people accepted that. But eventually, the disappearances began to form a pattern. Travelers heading south from Independence were not arriving where they were supposed to. Horses were missing. Wagons were abandoned. Bodies were found in creeks and shallow graves. The dead showed the same signs. Skulls crushed, throats cut, money gone. It no longer looked like bad luck. It looked organized. And sitting directly on that trail was the Bender property. A small cabin with a general store, a tavern. A place to stop for supper, fresh water, and a bed for the night. There was a well, a stable, an orchard, a garden behind the house. To passing travelers, it looked ordinary. That was its greatest strength. The family living there was made up of 4 people. John Bender Sr., Elvira, known as Ma Bender, John Bender Jr., and Kate Bender. Some historians still debate whether they were truly related or simply 4 people using the same name. Either way, they lived and worked as one, and one of them especially drew people in, Kate Bender. Young, attractive, educated, and far more socially skilled than the rest of the family, Kate became the public face of the inn. She called herself a healer, a spiritualist, a psychic. She held seances, gave lectures on free love, claimed she could speak to the dead and cure the sick. On the frontier, where illness was common and loneliness was constant, people listened. Locals visited out of curiosity. Travelers stopped because they trusted her. She made the Bender place feel safe. The rest of the family did not. Ma Bender was known for her temper. Neighbors described her as harsh and openly hostile. John Sr. barely spoke English and often sat in silence, watching people. John Jr. had a reputation for strange behavior, laughing at odd moments and unsettling nearly everyone who met him. But Kate balanced it. She made the cabin seem respectable. And inside that cabin, according to investigators later, the killings followed a simple pattern. A traveler would arrive tired from the road. He might carry cash, land papers, supplies, a good horse. He would be invited to dinner, and he would be seated in what became known as the seat of honor, a chair placed with his back to a canvas curtain that divided the room. Kate would keep him talking. She would distract him, keep his attention forward. And from behind that curtain, either John Sr. or John Jr. would step forward with a hammer. One strike to the skull, fast, quiet. Then the throat was cut to make certain. The body would be dropped through a trap door beneath the house. Later, it would be buried in the orchard. This was the theory investigators built after the truth was uncovered. And survivors told stories that supported it. Some travelers later said they felt something was wrong and left. One man refused to sit in that chair. Another noticed strange stains behind the curtain. A woman fled after Ma Bender threatened her with knives. A Catholic priest claimed he saw one of the Bender men hiding a hammer and decided that was reason enough to leave. Some listened to instinct. Others did not. Even neighbors noticed something strange. The garden behind the Bender house was always freshly turned. Fresh soil, freshly plowed, but no one remembered seeing crops, no vegetables, no harvest. Nothing ever seemed to grow there. At the time, it meant nothing. Later, they understood exactly what had been planted there. The case broke open because of one missing man. William York, Dr. William York. He was a well-known doctor and the brother of Colonel Alexander York. In 1873, York went looking for another missing man, George Newton Longcore, who had vanished with his young daughter. Then Dr. York disappeared too. That got attention fast. Colonel York started searching himself. He followed the trail south, and it led straight to the Bender Inn. He questioned the family. The Benders admitted Dr. York had stopped there. Kate offered to use her psychic powers to help find him. That made people even more suspicious. Another woman had already said she escaped the Bender place after Ma Bender threatened her with knives. Travelers were talking. Neighbors were uneasy. Now a respected doctor was gone. A township meeting was called. Settlers agreed to search every homestead in the area, every cabin, every farm. Before they reached the Bender place, the family disappeared. Gone. When people arrived, the cabin was empty. Then they noticed the smell. The house was one room split by a canvas curtain, a table. The chair later called the seat of honor. The chair where guests sat with their back to the curtain. They found the trap door under the bed. Underneath was the cellar. And blood. Blood in the dirt. Blood in the floorboards. The cabin was moved so they could dig underneath it. Then they dug the garden. The same garden neighbors had watched for months. Always freshly plowed. Nothing growing. Bodies came up fast. Dr. York, George Longcore, Longcore's little daughter, other missing travelers. At least 11 bodies were officially found. Some estimates went much higher. Nobody knows the real number. Most of the dead had the same injuries. A hammer blow to the skull, then the throat cut. One little girl was found without the same head wound. Some believed she had been buried alive. That detail followed the story for years. A traveler stops. A meal, a chair by the curtain, one strike from behind, then the orchard. News spread fast. The Bloody Benders became national headlines. People came from all over just to see the place. Some out of horror, some out of curiosity, some tore pieces of the cabin apart and kept them as souvenirs. Boards, floor planks, anything from the murder house. And while the bodies were being pulled from the ground, everyone wanted the same answer. Where were the Benders? This is where the story crosses into Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie, and even modern horror. Years later, Laura said her family knew exactly where the Bender place was. It sat about halfway between the Ingalls homestead and the town of Independence, Kansas. If they were heading into town, they passed it. She said they stopped there. Pa Ingalls would get water from the well, but he never liked going inside the tavern. That mattered later because it was the main stopping place south of town. Travelers used it constantly, and travelers kept disappearing. Laura remembered people talking about it, men heading south who were never seen again, neighbors noticing the strange garden behind the Bender house, always freshly plowed, never producing anything. Then the bodies were found. The orchard was dug up. The murders became national news. And suddenly, that quiet roadside inn was one of the most infamous places in the country. Laura said one night Pa grabbed his rifle and left. Ma asked where he was going. His answer was simple. The vigilantes are called out. He came back the next day. After that, whenever people talked about finding the Benders, Pa would only say one thing: they will never be found. That line created decades of speculation. Did the Benders escape? Did vigilantes catch them first? Did men like Pa Ingalls find them and handle it quietly? Frontier justice was often faster than the law. There were rumors everywhere. Some said the Benders fled by wagon and split up. Some said they made it to Texas. Some said they were lynched and buried in secret. Others claimed they were burned alive. There were stories of posses chasing them across state lines, stories of arrests, stories of mistaken identity. None of it was proven. No reward was ever claimed, no confirmed grave, no final arrest. They vanished. And that mystery made the story even bigger, because the bloody Benders did not stay in history books. They became part of American horror. Long before House of 1,000 Corpses, before The Devil's Rejects, before the Firefly family, there was the same basic nightmare. A family-run roadside stop, a charming young woman drawing people in, travelers disappearing, bodies hidden on the property, a whole family killing together. That is why so many people compare the bloody Benders to Rob Zombie's Firefly family. The setup is almost identical. Whether a direct inspiration or not, the Benders feel like the real-life version of that story. The same with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the isolated murder family. The house people should never have stopped at. The feeling that once you walk in, you are not leaving. That blueprint was already sitting in Kansas in the 1870s. One family became Little House on the Prairie. The other became the real House of 1,000 Corpses. That is why the bloody Benders still matter. Because while America remembers the Prairie through Laura Ingalls Wilder, there was another family living on that same frontier, burying travelers behind their house. Thank you for watching Campfire History. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and let me know what dark piece of forgotten history we should cover next.